The Joe Rogan Experience.
Do you have long-term plans, like in terms of like what you want to accomplish as a guy who makes movies?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm not trying to gear up towards making bigger films because I know I wouldn't work in that system because it's just not, I don't want to make things by committee. I want to go like, this is the fucked up crazy thing I want to do. And I don't want to water, because I know so many people that'll be like our friend Tom Papa. I remember him telling me about his TV show, Come to Papa, that it was like this certain idea. He said by the time the TV people watered it down and changed it, and it gets on the air, it's like, well, it's so far removed from the original idea that I don't, and I don't want to do that, and so I would rather, my goal is just get it made, whatever it takes. Not worried about.
Don't try to be blockbuster guy.
I don't care. I mean, had the Halloween movies were on 4,000 screens. It was like the #1 movie made up, but it didn't make me any happier. It's just about making the thing where I can look at it and go like, I love it. I'm done. Because, that's at this stage, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, the genre is still so attractive, but there's just not a lot of those examples other than your films are probably the most prominent currently.
Well, I mean, if everything's horror movies are big business, but if they look at it that way, then they start making them overly palatable to a wide audience.
There's types of horror movies, though. There's supernatural horror movies, there's monster movies, but then there's like homicidal maniac movies. And
there's
you kind of own
stuff.
that shit.
Redneck homicides. That's my genre.
Who's got it? It's like The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, right.
And then you.
There you go.
Right?
Hills Have Eyes.
You know what I mean? It's like that kind of psychopath chainsaw massacre type shit.
I love white trash type stuff.
Well, the Carney
because
background.
that's just
I
was that typical kid who worshipped Evel Knievel. White trash kid. I mean,
maybe that would be a fucking movie.
That would be a movie.
That'd be a fucking movie, man. I worked with his son. I worked with
Robbie
Knievel during the Fear Factor days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did something on Fear Factor. Yeah, it was cool. He's a nice guy. But, I was like, damn, dude, your dad was a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
The shit that guy subjected his body to.
It's crazy. And when you watch that shit, and you watch the Philadelphia Flyers, that time in the 70s was fucking mental.
It was mental.
And you're just a little kid watching Evel Knievel and listening to Alice Cooper and watching hockey fights, and that determines who you become.
Yeah, Evel Knievel was just, I think it was a Rolling Stone piece of his body where they showed all of his x-rays and all of the bone breaks and steel rods that were in various bones that were screwed together. I'm like, fuck, man, what kind of pain was this guy in?
I don't know. I mean, did you see there's a fairly new documentary. I think it's called Being Knievel. I think it's amazing. Well, it's maybe a couple years old, actually. But, just any one of those crashes. I think this is a famous one in London, and he jumps over the double-decker buses. And you can see him land, and the bike looks like it's made out of rubber, and he looks like he's made out of rubber. And you're like, it looks like every bone in his body just broke. And that's, that's going to do it again and do it again.
Oh, God. I mean, that was his thing. Imagine that being your thing. Your thing is you fly through the air on something that's supposed to stay on the ground.
A full-size Harley that's not made for jumping or doing anything.
At all.
Or landing, for that matter.
Doesn't have any particularly, like bouncy shocks or anything.
No. It's just hitting like, boom.
Ka-dunk. And just, oh, my God. Yeah, it's a weird thing to be that guy because there was some people in the past that had done some pretty interesting shit and risked their lives, but he was doing it consistently with an engine. That was the thing about him. It's like,
and he was like one of the most famous people in America.
Yeah, with an American flag suit.
Yeah, it's like the Fonz and Evel Knievel. There he is. Being Knievel. You got to see that if you haven't seen it.
Wow,
it's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, what a crazy
and there's stuff
character.
in there that kind of blew my mind because we all remember the Snake River Canyon thing.
Yes.
But they were showing how out of control it was with the people that showed up and were so drunk, and the crowds were fighting and crazy just on their own. It's mental. Like just what was going on around the event.
Yeah, that's one of those things you can't really do today the same way. Like if someone jumps over things today, it's like so many people are jumping. Like you're not going to get famous that way. Because like think about the bananas shit those BMX guys do, where they're flipping 3 times in the air. It's commonplace almost.
Yeah, no, watching Evel Knievel is like watching the original King Kong with your kids.
Right.
It's like oh, that was a big deal once. He jumped 7 buses. Whatever, I did it on my bike.
Yeah, that would be a great film.
I don't know what you have to do now. Catch bullets with your bare hands or something. Like for people, that guy's rad, bullet man.
Well, now there's people doing parkour and climbing buildings with no ropes. It's like, you ever watch that kid Alex Honnold? Do you know who he is?
No.
He's the free solo guy.
Oh, the free solo guy, yeah.
Oh,
I still haven't seen that yet, but everyone tells me
he's so nice and so normal. When you talk to him, I've had him on the podcast a couple of times, and I'm like, how are you the guy that's wanting to climb the face of these fucking cliffs? And some of them,
weird.
they're not straight up and down. They're
and
leaning
he's holding
backwards.
on by a finger.
Yeah, he's got like hands wedged in these cracks. Look at that picture.
Yeah, that's mental.
That doesn't make you shit your pants. And he's getting older, and he's starting to get injured now too.
Oh.
And he's for the first time in his life, he's had for a long time, he had no injuries, no problems, and he's been doing this a long time now. His body's not holding up the way it used to.
When do you retire? Like when are you Muhammad Ali
retire
or
when
Evel Knievel and you know it's time
when
to
the
stop?
fingers slip, son.
Yeah.
That's when you retire. I mean, that's what all of the people that have done it before him think. They think, look, this is going to end badly.
Yeah.
It's crazy to be known as the guy who's doing something that scares the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah. You're the guy that everybody's watching to eventually fall.
Look at that. Like, look at the angle.
That doesn't even seem possible.
He's incredibly strong. His hands, like he's a slender, thin guy, but he has gorilla hands.
Yeah.
The fat ass fingers, and he just can shove them into these cracks and hang on in place. He was telling me a story about how he was free solo climbing this one mountain when he realized, like fucking 300 feet up, that he forgot his powder. So he's got no chalk. So he's, things are getting slippery. He's climbing and he finds these guys that are connected to ropes halfway up. And he says, hey, I don't have any powder. Can I borrow your chalk? So the guy gives him his chalk bag. He makes it all the way to the top and leaves the chalk bag at the top for the guy. It's like, what?
What if those guys are like, that guy doesn't have any ropes as he's going by?
No ropes or chalk. He doesn't have any
chalk.
fucking chalk. Like, like if you ever lifted weights, like when that bar gets slippery, it sucks. Like you need chalk to grip things right so you can really get a hold of stuff. But that's just weights. You could put the weights down.
Yeah, so the worst fall is going to be 3 feet to the floor.
Oh, fuck. I can't even watch his stuff. I'm like, my hands are sweating right now thinking about it.
I haven't watched that, but I got to. Everyone's always talking about it.
No, it's an amazing documentary, but he's just a fascinating guy because it doesn't make sense. He's not like some Steve-O type guy who's just a maniac and just like always trying to freak people out and do the next thing. Like, no, he's
I'm putting a rocket on a sharpened cart.
Yeah.
Crashing into a brick wall.
Exactly. Like when Steve-O comes up with ideas, like he'll tell them to me. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that, man.
Yeah.
Like, stop doing that.
Oh.
But I get it. That's who he is. He's a legitimate bona fide maniac. The Alex Honnold guy is so calm and peaceful. And he said, like, he's like, well, I'm pretty mellow. It's like when the whole thing is pretty mellow. It's like when things go wrong, that's when it's not mellow. I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah, that's kind of how everything is.
Yeah.